Yankees are in unfamiliar territory. They can no longer take for granted your most reliable assets.
We had a rough outing. We're going to have a discussion.
Now both teams dive deep into their rosters, lean on each other in an increasingly tough postseason ahead.
The Tigers are going to take the lead.
Because if this October has indicated anything, it's that nothing is ever a sure thing.
The most incredible thing I've ever seen.
Tigers, Yankees, Game 2 of the ALCS, next.
Well, it was just after 1 o'clock this morning that the Tigers took Game 1. A 12-inning pressure cooker here in the Bronx. And now a scant 15 hours later, the two sides are ready to go again. This American League Championship Series coverage on TBS is presented by the Capital One Cash Rewards Card. It's Game 2 of the ALCS between the Detroit Tigers and the New York Yankees. Good afternoon, everybody. Quick turnaround. Along with John Smoltz and Ron Darling, this is Ernie Johnson. Welcome to our coverage. There were a number of headlines from Game 1. Deflation to elation for the Tigers. A long night for Jimmy Leland. And on the Yankees side, we're on the loss of their captain, Derek Jeter.
Who may be known forever as Black Sunday. Fracturing his ankle, he'll be out 3 months until he feels good again. But eerily, all teams go through these things during the course of the season. You can go back to May for the New York Yankees. And Mariano Rivera in Kansas City during batting practice, it hurts his knee. He is out for the season. And then last night, Joe Girardi said, looking at Derek Jeter on the field, he said it reminded him very much of Rivera. But when you look at Derek Jeter and he being out of the postseason, Alex Rodriguez has been a whipping boy, but when you look at the next generation to take them to the next level, Robinson Cano's numbers have not been great. He's 0 for his last 22, and that is just not going to cut it.
And the New York Yankees as a team in this postseason hitting just .216. Meantime, game ends at 1 o'clock in the morning. At 3 o'clock here, Jim Leland's still here with his staff trying to figure out what the Tigers are going to do about their closer situation.
Well, we talked about it in the onset. Can they win a close game? This was an emotional game for the Tigers on more than one occasion. Certainly they came back and won. The feeling is they won in a two-game swing, but they also saved a teammate. They may have lost a closer temporarily, but what they did rallying saved this guy right here. This guy has saved a lot of games for the Tigers. And last night, in a 4-run outburst by the Yankees, that's the last impression that you get as a teammate and as a team. But Detroit rallying helped this situation a little bit better than what it could have been. And what you need to do is, as starters, continue getting deep in the game. Put yourself in position and have other people temporarily pick up for Valverde, because they're going to need him for this series to continue and for them to win.
On this Sunday afternoon in the Bronx, a chance for the Tigers to grab this series by the throat. The Yankees hoping for a split as they return to Detroit for the next 3. The first pitch, right around the bend. Couldn't ask for a better day here in New York for Game 2 of the American League Championship Series as we check in with Craig Sager.
Well, this is the fourth consecutive year that Joe Girardi has managed the Yankees into the postseason. At this time of the year, no need for team meetings. However, with last night's loss of Derek Jeter, a former teammate, a close friend, and Girardi's team captain, he felt compelled to talk to the team. In Jeter's words, he said, "We are a team. We must move on. Let's get going." Now tomorrow, Girardi will have a more difficult speech. He will have to speak at the passing of his father, Jerry's funeral in Peoria, his hometown. He told me when he woke up this morning, looked in the mirror, he felt like he was 106. In reality, he has aged. Yesterday he was 47. Today is his 48th birthday. AJ?
All right, thank you very much, Craig, and certainly all the pressures of a postseason series, and then what's going on in his personal life too, is a lot on the mind of Joe Girardi. Let's take a look at this afternoon's starting lineups, brought to you by the Capital One Cash Rewards Card. Austin Jackson leads it off for the Tigers. He went 2 for 6 in the opener. Then it's Quentin Berry. Miguel Cabrera hits third. Prince Fielder in the cleanup spot. Delman Young, one of the stars for the Tigers in Game 1, hits fifth. And as Andy Dirks, Johnny Peralta, a couple of sterling plays defensively in the opener. Alex Avila and Omar Infante bats ninth against Hiroki Kuroda.
Well, never has there been a more important first couple innings for a pitcher. A lot of emotion the night before, quick turnaround. You've got to actually, thought I'd never say this, keep the crowd in it, because everybody is dealing with the loss of Jeter and the team not hitting. Very important. Great movement, a scouting report, really good slider, and that shutdown innings that I'm talking about is very important to come out and set the tone for your team.
Austin Jackson steps in to lead it off for Detroit. And we are underway at Yankee Stadium. Strike to Jackson. And quickly Kuroda jumps out. No balls and 2 strikes. He works fairly quickly, but he's got that hesitation. Kind of the trademark hesitation for Kuroda on the mound.
Well, he's working on 3 days rest. Everybody tries to make a big deal about that. I look for him to be sharp. He's been sharp the last couple of starts.
Misses there. Well, both of you tell me about short rest.
Basically, it's mental. It's just really mental, because at this point, physically, you're able to do whatever they ask you to do.
I always think that because the weather has changed and gotten cooler, that 3 days rest really is it can be used as an excuse more than anything else. You feel ready to go. Maybe you won't be a 130 pitch pitcher, but certainly can be effective for 110.
Smoltzy, how are you working on 15 hours rest?
Not bad. I mean, I don't even know that I slept.
Jackson, a strikeout victim to start Game 2.
Well, behind Kuroda, the Yankee defense, of course, going to be a little different today. We got Suzuki in left field, the 10 Gold Gloves, Granderson, Switcher in the outfield. But in the infield, really the change, other than the Gold Glovers, is Jason Nix, a gamer who plays shortstop, and Russell Martin, who Joe Girardi described as one tough dude today to us before the game, catching almost every inning of every game.
Here's Quentin Berry. Berry went 0 for 2 in the opener.
I actually think it's a good thing, considering everything that's happened to the Yankees, that it was a quick turnaround. You get back out there to go play baseball, less time to think, less time to ponder some of the scenarios that could have been, would have, should have, and you get out there and you can erase it with a good performance today.
Kuroda bounced it up there, a ball and a strike. I tell you what, that for the Detroit Tigers to go from up 4-0 to have the bottom fall out in the 9th and then to rally in the 12th, what a huge lift. And I mean, you talk about winning a game on the road, winning that kind of game on the road, John.
No doubt. And Drew Smyly doing what he did in his first postseason appearance.
Jim Leland said, if you would have told me Drew Smyly is going to pitch a 12th inning and get the win at Yankee Stadium in a postseason game, never would have believed it. But he also said, once the Yankees tied the game, he said he was going to manage like he always manages. His team was going to play hard like they always play hard. but he thought there was no chance they were going to win that game.
And I thought he did a great job addressing it before we could even ask. You know, we meet with the managers every day, and he addressed the closer situation. Most people gut check reaction is don't let him pitch anymore, don't do this, don't do that. It's not that easy. And closers get too much credit and too much blame. They're going to need this guy if they move on. You can't just put anybody in that role. And so he's going to give him the day off today in a sense of closing and work, adjust after that.
2 balls and 2 strikes to Berry. In the air to center field. Granderson shielding his eyes from the late afternoon sun and makes the play for the second out.
And let me just add, the last 3 years, the best save percentage in baseball, Valverde, 93.2%, and Soriano second with almost 90%.
And the way Jimmy Leland put it, as he talked to us about the situation, but also really was saying, look, here's what I would like the Tiger fans to, as he put it, not be too short-memoried on where they've been with Valverde.
And that's easy to say. It's just hard to understand. I mean, because what have you done for me lately? And everyone knows that. And that's why I think that win last night saved a teammate. Yeah. Because everything would have been on him. And that was a perfect scenario for Jim to get him in the game after blowing game 4 to get his feet back into it and see if he could adjust.
They continue to pound Cabrera inside. Jim Leland said he doesn't know if they'll continue that at Tiger Stadium, but they're trying to keep him away from the short porch in right field by pounding him inside.
Because Cabrera, the Triple Crown winner in the American League, hits to all fields. And he strikes out on 3 pitches to end the first. This afternoon's starting lineup for the Yankees, brought to you by the Capital One Cash Rewards car. With Derek Jeter out, Ichiro moves into the leadoff spot, and it's Cano, Teixeira, Ibanez, who homered again last night. Russell Martin hits 5th. A-Rod at 3rd, Curtis Granderson in center. Nick Swisher hits 8th, and Jason Nix playing short with Jeter out. Bats 9th. Anibal Sanchez on the mound for Detroit.
He's pitched much better of late. Don't let the record fool you. Doesn't get a whole lot of run support. But he needs to keep the ball on the ground, tax the strike zone. and do the same thing that his counterpart did, put a 0 up in the first. Get to the 8th. I think that's important for a starter today, especially given the circumstances. And please get him some runs. He hasn't had much, and keep the ball on the ground as we mentioned.
Ichiro to third. Cabrera. And that is a foul ball.
Home plate umpire has the call until it gets to the bag, right, Don? Ron?
Yes, and what's
Don
interesting, well, it doesn't matter. We use any name here. You know, what's funny here is that Cabrera, he's such a big-bodied guy that he kind of blocks the line there as he makes that play. Took that real sharp turn out of bounds when the spin caught the grass.
How do you raise your postseason batting average from the low 2s to over 3? Ichiro did it in game 1, going 4 for 6, including a 2-run homer in the 9th as the Yankees rallied from 4-0 down. Just reaches out, pokes it to short. Peralta gets him by a step, 1 down.
Behind Sanchez in the outfield. Little changes here. Chris Berry's going to play left field. The big field here. Jackson and Dirks move from left to right. The infield, Cabrera, Infante, fielder. Peralta at shortstop was outstanding last night. And Alex Avila behind the plate. Gerald Laird had the responsibilities in last night's game.
Tigers had a lot of stars in that game last night, from Delman Young with his big RBIs, the defensive plays by Peralta. And they won it in 12, 6-4. Now here's Robinson Cano. You talked about him in our pregame segment, hitting .071, 2 for 28 in this postseason. 0 for 6 last night with a strikeout.
That's amazing. I mean, he's getting a pass so far from all the attention given to his teammate. He needs to step it up. 0 for his last 22.
He did till the open.
The second. Easy play for Infante. 2 up and 2 down. It's the first time that Cano's been in the 2-hole since 2010. And here is Mark Teixeira, who went 1 for 4 in the opener.
Well, when you look at the history of the lineup, they're going to have to get something done in the first 4 hitters. The last 4 have been struggling.
The shift on against Teixeira.
It was interesting. Teixeira worked that walk in front of Ibanez when he tied the game up with that 2-run home run, but we were asking why Teixeira would not think of maybe pushing a bunt that way. In this instance, though, you want him swinging the bat.
Well, he worked that walk from 0-2 count, which is not easy to do. So in essence, it almost worked as a bunt to that vacant spot. He got on base for the ultimate 2-run homer and tying home run.
3 balls and no strikes.
Walks play huge at this time of the year. Cabrera got a walk to start their rally.
That's over for a strike, 3-1. Teixeira's walk in the 9th preceded the home run by the guy who's on deck, Raul Ibanez. And the count full at 3-2. Hard to imagine a guy being not only coming to the plate in all those pressurized situations, but delivering in all of them the way that Ibanez has in the past week. That ball is a bullet down the line, fair ball. It'll rattle around in the corner, and Teixeira is into second with a 2-out double.
Well, for Sanchez, one of the other keys is he must pitch ahead in the count. Behind in the count, the averages are really not in his favor, and this is a situation where 3-1, you can look for a shot right down the middle, and Teixeira did not miss it.
Now here's Ibanez. Leads the Yankees this postseason with 5 runs batted in.
You know, in the first inning, man on second, 2 out. You would prefer to get the guy out, but not necessarily with this guy and the way the guys behind him have been playing. A walk's not the end of the deal. When he's ahead of the count, he pitches to a 190 batting average. Behind in the count, 311.
I know it's the first inning. I wouldn't pitch to him here. I would be so extra careful. Great players stay in the zone, literally live in the zone. Mere mortal players approach the zone every once in a while. You can't define it. Well, Ibanez is right in the middle of that zone.
He's ahead in the count, 2-0. Sanchez to the plate. 2 balls and 1 strike. Sanchez, a guy who's had a no-hitter in his career and has flirted with another one. Ibanez tried to check his swing, and Gary Cedarstrom down at third said he did check it. Here was that moment in the 9th with the score 4-2 and off of Valverde. Tied it at 4, but the Tigers persevered, rallied in the 12th, and took game 1. And Ibanez draws a 2-out walk. They're at first and second for Russell Martin.
Interesting with the changing of the lineup. It's maybe Russell Martin who's got to have a big day. Almost a pitch around there by Sanchez.
I think of all the changes in the lineup, this has been the biggest impact change, meaning he's been down in the lineup. He's batted 9th, 8th. Now he's 5th. That produces a lot of chances for RBIs. His at-bats have been better than some of the guys that have been struggling.
Runners lead from first and second. Pitch to Martin. 0-1.
Boy, it's almost the same scenario you see over and over and over. Who's ever in an RBI situation for the Yankees, especially early in the game, they are swinging at just about everything. 3 for 23 with 2 outs and runners in scoring positions for the Yankees in this postseason.
Here comes the 0-1. What a play by Sanchez behind the back. Great play. You should have seen it. They're going to the second. This is one of those plays, guys, it looks nice, but what if scenario comes in?
Yeah, a couple things. You got A-Rod on deck. I think the second baseman would have got to this, but pitchers all try that. If it had been hit a little harder, I don't think it would have happened, but nonetheless, nice play.
Or if it deflects off the glove. Prince Fielder takes a strike as he leads off the second inning. He was 2 out of 6 in the opener and knocked in a run. And Kuroda ahead, no balls and 2 strikes.
Polar opposites what they're going to do for these guys. For Prince, they want to pitch him away, throw splits like that. For Cabrera, they're going to try to jam him in, see if he keeps swinging at balls in off the plate. But you don't want to get this guy in an RBI situation. He becomes that much tougher.
Prince has showed a propensity in this postseason of taking the ball to left field much more.
Ball and 2 strikes.
Now we have seen a couple of those already early on.
That's that split finger that Kuroda throws, where you kind of sticks in your fingers and doesn't come out.
It's one way of changing the eye level of the hitter.
Third strikeout for Hiroki Kuroda. Play TBS Social Dugout presented by Samsung Galaxy S3. Predict plays before they happen, score points, compete against your friends, and earn rewards. Download the app by visiting tbs.com/social dugout. Guys, we did a game that Kuroda started against Tampa Bay in which the first 6 outs he recorded were strikeouts, and 7 of the first 9 he faced. He has struck out 3 of the first 4 here in game 2.
Yeah, we did that on a day game, and he loves pitching during the day. I mean, 1.9, where's my notes? 9 ERA on the day games, and he's 5-2. Some guys, I mean, the splits day and night can be pretty drastic. I mean, he's pitched good all year, but he certainly likes pitching at home and on the day.
Now, Delman Young was already in the record books, had a share of the lead for postseason home runs in franchise history, and grabbed it outright last night with a bullet into the seats and left. He had RBIs in 3 different innings. Really an offensive force for the Tigers in the opener, as he was last year in the postseason.
Well, that ball, just to keep it fair, on the inside corner, but up. You know, he's coast-to-coast kind of hitter. He can hit the ball to right field, to left field. When he was with Minnesota, he was a great postseason performer and continued it with the Tigers.
He waits on a 1-2 from Kuroda.
You know, why do I think Delman Young is so good in the postseason? With all these scouting reports and hitting in the cage and everyone talking ad nauseum about a pitcher's strengths and weaknesses, he is an old-fashioned see it and hit it kind of guy. He makes it very, very simple.
Another 1-2 and another strikeout for Kuroda.
Okay, Kuroda has, I don't know if we call it traditional slider, looks like a little frisbee, just takes a late movement. You saw the tight spin right there, and the hitter sees that fastball normally coming into him, and then that little movement away from him, tough to hit. See him trying to adjust his eyes, going, woof. Thing broke late.
Here's Andy Dirks. Now in the 12th inning last night, after the Tigers had gotten the lead, it was Dirks. Hit a ball off the hand of David Phelps, scored another run to provide that 2-run cushion going to the bottom half.
Pfister, he was outstanding in last night's game. Left the bases loaded 3 times.
That caught the corner. Though John shakes his head. 2 balls and a strike. Or are you just trying to work some kinks out over there?
Just in my neck. Sorry about that. Sorry to confuse you.
I got you. 3-1.
Well, don't let Andy Dirks' stature fool you. He's got a lot of pop.
Growing up in Michigan, that's what we used to call our drinks.
Well, instead of soda or tonic, it's pop?
Yeah, pop.
I think fans at home,
you never know what you're going to get.
Start, getting a real appreciation for where you've been, where you're going, your roots,
knowledge,
just in the course of a baseball game.
You got a book full of useless knowledge.
And you draw from it very well. 3 balls and 2 strikes. He struck out the side, and that's 5 out of 6. Watch bonus camera angles for the ALCS games with postseason.tv. Get started now at MLB.com. Alex Rodriguez will lead it off in the Yankee half of the second. 0 for 3 last night with a strikeout, 2 for 19, 10 Ks in this postseason. And he takes a strike from Sanchez, 0-1.
Talked about setting a tone for the Yankees in Kuroda. He certainly has done that. 5 strikeouts in the first 2 innings. Sanchez not quite on his game early on, not commanding the strike zone like he normally does. A little bit of trouble in the first. See how the second fares in the latter part of the lineup.
Well, that was up and in, fouled off. into the hands of first base coach Mick Kelleher.
Broke Alex's bat. Needs a new one. You know, when you go in bad, those are the little things that happen. A ball up and in should give him a 2-1 count. Tries to get out of the way, and it's a foul ball.
Or like last night in the first inning, bases loaded. Peralta with a sparkling play. Got the force at second. Tigers got out of the inning.
You know, when Alex is going good, he's got the count in his favor. He's taking close pitches, making sure he gets the pitch he wants and delivering it. Right now he's in between both the fastball and the breaking ball.
Sanchez with a 1-2.
Seen it happen to a lot of hitters once they're over 35, 36 years old. You feel as though you can't get to the real good fastball anymore. You try to cheat. Once you cheat, you've given yourself up on the breaking ball.
And that contributes to one extra base hit in his last 87 at bats.
Sanchez nibbled at the corner and missed. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Rodriguez missed 36 games this season after he got hit in the hand by Felix Hernandez. Came back on September 3rd, and for the rest of the season had 3 home runs and 13 RBIs. Full count, 3 balls and 2 strikes. Has not driven in a run in this postseason. You can tell by this crowd too, they're quick to encourage when a game starts, but quick to go the other way as well. Strike 3 called. 1 down.
Change up, John. Something breaking on the outside part.
Well, this is just his fastball that comes back from out to in. Looks like a ball to a hitter. His sinker is what gives up a lot of ground balls. That's a little bit higher than you'd like, but he gets the freeze because it looks outside. And to A-Rod, certainly nothing can go right. Even in his guessing or when he hits the ball hard, someone's there to field it.
Granderson swinging at the first pitch. And tapped foul. You get down to this part of the Yankee order, and you see those minuscule numbers in the postseason here in 2012. Granderson just 3 out of 23.
I think you said it best, Ron, that you can't be in between. As a pitcher or as a hitter, and you can't be too aggressive and you can't be too passive. You've got to find the blend of trust. Right now, some hitters have lost trust. You've seen pitchers lose trust in their pitches, in their mechanics, and it shows up ugly at this time of the year. In the regular season, they're all going to figure it out. That's why they're here. But in a short series, it's a lot harder to grasp those things.
And I think with the glare, and certainly we are part of the problem, not part of the solution, but with the glare comes on the board, the 130s, the 107s, the 125s. And in regular season, you say to yourself, you know what, if I had 250 next month, 300 the next month, I'll get my average back. Well, there's no months. There's days.
Yeah. That's why at home here, they'll show the season average at this point. It's a little bit better with 43 home runs than the current series.
And 106 RBIs. That's what Granderson had. Back-to-back strikeouts here in the second for Sanchez.
Well, the fun thing for me when we see those pitches, Alex taking a pitch right down kind of the middle of the plate, maybe a little away but up, and Granderson swinging through really a hanging slider. It's really hard to explain or comprehend. I mean, Detroit's ERA for their starters this postseason is, 1.10, minuscule, but still every pitch is not perfect.
Guy waiting to pitch right there has got some stuff for you too, by the way. 97 cheese with a slider and a changeup.
Max Scherzer, yep. Lined and off the glove. Infante cannot recover to make the play.
You see, normally he always smiles no matter what the situation is, but this is a smile of, well, he's going to throw me out. I got a base hit, and he couldn't quite grab the ball. And he's like, about time.
I think Infante, after he dove, he had a little more time than he thought. And the rushing, and once he did pick it up the first time, that was it. So you thought it was a line drive and then picked it up, and then picked it up a little more. So that wouldn't be beating out a hit. Lucky to get a hit.
Here's Jason Nix playing shortstop today with Jeter out. 1 ball and no strikes. We saw him the other night, John, square up a few. Picked up a couple of hits. And was also robbed by Nate McLouth on a fly ball against the wall and left. Resulted in a double play. That's in the air to left. Berry came in and now goes back. He's at the track and makes the play. Nix gave it a ride, but Berry tracked it down. We go to the third.
Reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without express written consent.
Johnny Peralta had a great opener to this series, 3 out of 5, great defense, and he leads it off here in the third for the Tigers. We are scoreless in Game 2 of the American League Championship Series, and Kuroda misses. The Yankee right-hander has been in complete control through 2 and misses again. 2 balls and no strikes. He's faced 6 hitters. Only 1 has put it in play. Quentin Berry flied out to center. Kuroda with 5 Ks here early.
Well, Peralta's an interesting player. Last year had his career year offensively. This year the numbers down a little bit. The RBI, of course, 63 is great from the shortstop position. But Chip Leland talked about Peralta. Said he's one of our guys in our lineup that could be a little less aggressive, take a few more extra walks. That would boost that average.
Imagine being in a game where you win the game and then you stick around in the wee hours of the morning trying to figure out how you work things from this point on. A lot of pressure on Jim Leland and every manager this time of the year.
Bounce to third. Rodriguez throws out Peralta, 1 down. Stay one step ahead. Get alerts whenever something big happens with your teams. Check out the Team Stream app from Bleacher Report on the App Store or Google Play. Here's Alex Avila. Gerald Laird got the start behind the plate last night. Avila came on late. Earned 1 out of 2. A lot of buttons being pushed, a lot of pitchers being used in that opener that went 12.
Detroit's roster set up a little bit different from their pitchers. They got a couple starters in the pen. They still had Porcello last night. Of course, they had Albuquerque still. They could have pitched that game a little bit longer, I think, than the Yankees could. The Yankees are in a long stretch here of tiresome games.
Well, they have played extra inning games, a couple of 12-inning games, of 13 this week. Opened up that Baltimore series playing Sunday and Monday on the road. Tuesday was a travel day in which their train didn't make it to the destination. Electrical difficulties in the middle of the night, and they had to bus, and then played Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday here at Yankee Stadium.
They didn't get into it, what, almost 6 o'clock in the morning? 9 o'clock.
All of that has led for their travel to be late tomorrow, canceling workouts and anything that happens in Detroit. Give the guys an extra breather, and of course Joe having to deal with a funeral, his father.
Fouled off at the plate. The count 3-2 to Alex Avila.
Like Peralta, Avila had a career year last year as Omar Infante waits on deck. Didn't so much this year. And that's probably one of the reasons why Detroit didn't run away with that Central like everyone thought they would.
In fact, the Tigers had to rally down the stretch to overcome the Chicago White Sox and lay claim to the Central title. As Avila goes down swinging. A lot of K's in the book here for Kuroda. That's 6 strikeouts as we play in the third. And Ronnie, we talked about that game that we did against Tampa Bay when it was much the same way. 7 of the first 9. Here's Omar Infante, who hit second in the opener in the 9-hole today against the right-hander Hiroki Kuroda. No balls and a strike.
Good sign for the Yankees, because Kuroda's really early on. You've got a chance to get him when he gets into the 60s and 70s of pitch count. 183 batting average. It's a little tougher.
Seven strikeouts in 3 innings. Cash rewards card. Bottom half of the third inning, game 2 between the Tigers and the Yankees, and we are scoreless. Top of the order for New York, which is normally Derek Jeter, but today Ichiro Suzuki. Lays it down. Avila quickly out of the box and throws him out.
If I can just express to you how difficult it is with all that equipment, getting rid of the mask, making sure you jump from behind the plate, and then on the run like an infielder, make that throw to first base and not hit the runner. It looks easy because these catchers are so good, but beautiful play by Avila.
And threw him out easily. Here's Robinson Cano. A footnote on the Jeter story. I know we've talked about it and you saw it last night, but he will not accompany the team to Detroit. MRI today confirmed the diagnosis of a fractured left ankle, and he will see a specialist in Charlotte, North Carolina.
For Ichiro right there, he was trying to drag that ball a little bit further past the mound, and he would have been safe. Ball died off the end of his bat.
Yeah, the play right there is to get it past the pitcher. That's what you're trying to do, and what Ichiro was trying to do.
Cano, who grounded out in the first, behind in the count 0-2. Sanchez ran it inside. Ball and 2 strikes.
In between pitches, sunflower seeds fill the mouth of Robinson Cano from the back pocket.
Count even, 2 balls and 2 strikes. Sanchez started the year with the Marlins. Started 19 times and went 5-7. With the Tigers, 4-6 in 12 starts. ERA 3.74. Back in 2006, he did pitch a no-hitter against Arizona. That ball's hit to short. Peralta throws him out. 2 up and 2 down.
Well, the reason I said in the open needs some runs. 13 times they've scored 2 or less for him. 13 times 5 or less. That's 26 games, and that average usually doesn't equate to a lot of wins unless you've been outstanding. So he's had the rough side of some runs. Record shows it, but he's been pitching big games down the stretch for Detroit. Early on, it was a little rough.
I can feel the pain in your voice as both of you guys when that run support comes up for conversation.
Well, it's one of those things that, you know, when you look at a pitcher's record at the end of the year, it tells very little about the story.
Teixeira to first. And Fielder to Sanchez for the 3rd out. We head to the 4th. you by Charles Schwab. Joining us now is a guy who started last night for Detroit, Doug Fister. 6 1/3 shutout innings as the Tigers took the opener. Doug, thanks a lot for spending a few minutes with us.
Hey, thanks, guys.
Can you describe that roller coaster game? I know you were sitting there on pins and needles and you have a 4-0 lead. What was it like in that dugout?
You know, I mean, throughout the whole game, guys are staying loose, staying within themselves, and playing the game that that they prepare for, that they know how, the way we've played all year. And I think that was the main thing for us, going through some of the roller coasters. It seemed like I couldn't stay out of trouble, but the team really bailed me out when I was in trouble. So, it was a fortunate thing for us. But as we got later in the game, guys just stayed within what we do, and we've been through some struggles already this year, but we've got the confidence that we know we can come out on top, and that's kind of what we did last night.
Where did Cano's ball hit you, and how did you shake it off?
It hit me right in the wrist, just below the thumb, and just one of those things. I guess adrenaline just takes over, and you don't really feel much, and there's some pain, some stiffness, but when it comes down to it, it's a matter of your teammates are trying to count on you, and they want you out there. So you got to do what you got to do. If you can pitch through it, play through it, that's what you have to do, and that's kind of what we did last night. And had a lot of support from the guys, so it was a very important thing.
Jason Nix throws out Quentin Berry for the second out.
Doug, I fairly or unfairly have said you're a rhythm pitcher, and looked like as a rhythm pitcher early on you might not have had the perfect rhythm. How'd you find it in a game like that and turn it around?
Typically, things start to speed up in a bigger game. So, from the start, I was trying to keep things slow and stay within myself. And, that was one thing that Jones came out and told me. He said, hey, your rhythm's really looking a little slower than normal, especially for you. And I'm a quick guy. But as you say, rhythm's everything, and it's just a matter of we needed to pick things up. We needed to speed things up a little bit. So that's kind of where we took it. You talked to Gerald and said, hey, let's get on the same page right here, and really just go for some quick contact and stay within it, and really just kind of speed things up.
Speaking of contact, you now hold the record all time in the American League for no contact. 9 strikeouts in a row. That had to be a blast.
As time kind of goes on, I've had a little bit of time to let it soak in a little bit. At the time, I had no idea, but letting it soak in a little bit, I'm very appreciative and humbled by the experience.
Hey, Doug, how nice is it to be able to watch the guy at the plate and not pitch to the guy at the plate right now?
Being on both sides of the table, being his teammates, one heck of a blessing for us. He swings the bat like a professional, and he plays the game the right way.
Well, I guess your teammates didn't want you to have too much airtime. That's a quick 1, 2, 3 inning. Doug, thanks a lot for joining us.
Thank you, guys.
50 times a week. Don't miss the Big Bang Theory when it returns after MLB postseason, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday nights on TBS. Very funny. Scoreless game, bottom half of the fourth inning. Game 2 of the American League Championship Series. And here's Raul Ibanez, who takes a strike from Anibal Sanchez.
One of the things no one's been able to do is make him uncomfortable in there. Everything out over the plate that he's hit, really almost putting it on a tee, and he has not missed it.
Little pop in foul territory, and Avila can't make the play.
All right, John, go ahead.
Yeah,
go
that's
on.
where the pitcher's got to take control. They shag for a living.
That's almost an impossible play for the catcher. I agree with you. That's a play for the pitcher.
And you're asking a catcher to get out of a squat, run over there, back against the ball, meaning the ball, it's just, pitcher's got to get it, got to take control.
Rule it no play. The count is 0-2. Ibanez checks his swing. 1-2.
Sanchez's curveball is more like a hard slider that goes down. It's not your traditional big looping one. It's got a tighter slider and, of course, change up and a swing back, as they call it, fastball or sinker.
Rounded up the middle. Infante can't quite get there, and Ibanez has a leadoff single here in the fourth.
The little subtle things of the game. Pops up, it should be a flat out, and his play is not made. He gets a second chance, playing him to pull up the middle for a base hit.
Tied him up inside with two fastballs, tried to get him out of the way. He got his arms extended, didn't hit it great, but hit it out in front of Infante.
Ibanez now 7 out of 15. And here's Russell Martin.
Seems like the early storyline is the Detroit pitchers have been in the stretch quite a bit in the first two games. The Yankees, for the most part, haven't. Kuroda hasn't been out of the stretch yet. That's the key in these games, to create pressure for the guys that are on deck, guys that are at the plate.
Yankees had base runners in the first. Another base runner in the second. Couldn't move them around. Here in the fourth, a leadoff single by Ibanez.
A lot of pitchers, when they do their bullpens, you think about doing your bullpen side work. If you don't throw a good percentage of them out of the stretch, you're doing yourself a disservice, because a lot of big pitches you're going to make in games are going to be out of the stretch. Yeah, you want your rhythm in the windup, and that should be the easiest thing you do, but the stretch is where most of the work gets done.
There goes Ibanez. The throw by Avila. He got him.
That's all catcher right there. He made up the difference between a guy that got a decent jump. I'm pretty sure this was a hit and run, but nonetheless, he gets the throw there in time, and he almost slides into his foot, but he got it out of the way.
Well, pretty high slide. Rick slapped on the quad there by Infante. You know, desperate times call for desperate measures. You would never see in the regular season Martin with a hit and run with Ibanez on first base, but not scoring any runs, trying to change it up.
Martin now with a 1-2 count as Sanchez comes to the plate. Down in the dirt, count even. Martin hit back to Sanchez his first time. Sanchez made a behind the back stop. This one to Cabrera, who throws to Fielder for the second out.
You know, one of the things that's overlooked in this Triple Crown year is that there have been a lot of players in the recent memory who have been asked to change positions and have said, you know what, I'm not changing positions. But Cabrera is a superstar at first base. They're able to sign Prince Fielder. He said he would be happy to go to third base, and he's made one error in his last 37 games. Now, does he have tons of range? Does he have tons of speed? Maybe not. But anything he gets to, he's sure-handed.
Remember back in spring training when he took that ball in the eye and was bloodied.
Probably wasn't too happy with his decision then.
Rodriguez swinging at the first pitch. Fouled on a play.
The fields traditionally in spring training are not great. You're going to get some bad hops, and almost really fortunate that he had his sunglasses on. It caught his sunglass. The sunglasses went down into his cheek and cut him, but he might have lost an eye if he hadn't had it on.
A-Rod waiting on an 0-1. And quickly Sanchez ahead, no balls and 2 strikes. Rodriguez called out on strikes in the second, which was his 11th strikeout in 20 postseason at bats.
You know that drill where the golfers put the towel under their arm? It's almost like A-Rod's hitting with his arms tied together. There's no free flow.
Had a notion, held up. 1-2.
Over the course of time, working on your swing so much as this ball upstairs, able to hold back, sometimes you can get where you become too mechanical. And at times, you can see that in Alex's swing.
Well, if you're guessing and you lose perception of the strike zone, that's a bad combination for hitting. Just like if you lose your release point for a pitcher.
Foul tip into the mitt of Avila. And another strikeout for Rodriguez. We welcome you back to Yankee Stadium as we move to the 5th, and Prince Fielder takes outside from Hiroki Kuroda.
Kuroda has kept his fastball down. Great movement on it. Good slider. Good split. Keeping these hitters off balance. He's not really made a mistake over the zone yet.
That thing is 2 miles high. A-Rod puts it away, 1 down. It is time to talk, brought to you by Charles Schwab. Moments ago we spoke with Yankees manager Joe Girardi. Joe, it's very strange to look out on that field and not see number 2. When did you know last night how bad it was for Derek Jeter?
When he didn't get up. When I saw him roll on the ground. Usually he'll get right up. And when I saw him roll, I knew there was an issue there. And, you know, we're going to be without him the rest of the way through, but we got to find a way to get it done.
Joe, you've been dealing with a lot of different length of games and emotion, but the best way to come out is your starting pitcher make a stamp on the game, and he's certainly doing that so far.
Yeah, he has. And, you know, he's on short rest, and it's not something that he's really ever done before. They talked about maybe he did it one time in Japan, but he's given us everything he's got.
He faces Delman Young, who takes outside, 1-1. Kuroda struck out 7 of the first 9 he faced. He's working here in the 5th in a scoreless game. Young could not hold up. 1-2. Young 3 for 6 with a homer and 3 RBIs in the opener. Struck out his first time today.
You know, this game and this series has a lot of interesting storylines to it already, and it's only in the 2nd game. But the longer this game goes and it's tight, and the longer the Detroit stays in it, it's more pressure on New York because they know who they got to face in Game 3.
They got to win this game.
You almost believe it. I mean, that's the one thing coming in, and Kuroda's doing his part.
New spin on the WWJD. There is Justin Verlander, pitched a gem in the clincher against the Oakland A's. Here comes the 2-2. And Young goes down swinging for the 2nd time today. 8th strikeout for Kuroda.
Well, when you're looking at this pitcher and you're trying to figure out why this is hard to hit, you just look no more than the movement you're seeing. Fastball movements, slider movements, split, nothing straight. And only 57 pitches to this point. A great sign for a guy who's working on short rest and a bullpen who's tired.
Here's Andy Dirks. .38 strikes, 20 balls out of those 58 pitches by Kuroda. And that ball up the middle. Cano with the backhand, the throw to Teixeira, and he got him. We head to the bottom of the 5th in the Bronx. Cano, coolest guy in the room. Vehicle of Major League Baseball. Find your chance to win postseason tickets and an all-new Malibu at Chevy.com/tickets. Curtis Granderson leads it off in the bottom half of the 5th. 3 hits in the game all belong to the Yankees. Granderson struck out his first time, and he's quickly behind 0-2. Sanchez retired the side in the 3rd, and in the 4th allowed a leadoff single to Raul Ibanez, but Ibanez caught stealing by Alex Avila, and then he retired the next 2, did Sanchez. Good tight pitchers duel here on a Sunday in the Bronx. Game 2 of the American League Championship Series. Detroit took the opener in 12.
Well, his first game is similar to this. Didn't get any runs. Oakland got 2. A game that he pitched really well, but didn't get a decision.
He gets Granderson on strikes to lead off the 5th. His 4th strikeout. He's gotten Rodriguez twice and Granderson twice.
Over 200 strikeouts now for Granderson if you include the postseason. And this kind of just a little spinner up in the strike zone.
Yeah, I'd like to say these are all great pitches, but they're really not. A lot of them are not great pitches, and it's just not recognizable by the Yankee hitters at this point.
Swisher way out in front, 0-1.
That's a guy trying to get and attack a fastball that never came. And
that's guess hitting right there. You decide you're going to swing at the first pitch no matter where it is. Curveball by Sanchez.
Sanchez made his major league debut in New York, the old Yankee Stadium, in 2006. Started the 2nd game of a doubleheader and won it.
Plus the shutout in September for the Tigers. Has a no-hitter to his credit in the Marlins uniform.
Also took a no-hitter into the 9th against the Rockies in that same season. He had the no-no, and Dexter Fowler broke it up.
One of the rare righties where he gets lefties out easier than he does right-handers, and it says to the way he's pitching his fastball and the way that he throws his complement of pitches. But typically right-handers should have a better effect against right-handers than they would against left-handers.
That's Jason Nix waiting on deck.
Pitches off the first side part of the rubber, the first base side of the rubber, so you can see he likes pitching to that side of the plate.
The 3-2. And that is 5 strikeouts for Anibal Sanchez. As good as Kuroda has been, Sanchez just about as good here in game 2.
Well, Baltimore did the same thing that Detroit is doing in these first 2 games, is that they are not in hitters counts giving in with a fastball. They are making sure that their accessory pitches, their secondary pitches, are being used in fastball counts.
Here's Nix, who cuts through that. 0-1.
Yeah, for a pitcher, when you face a hitter, you've got something to fear. Every hitter that goes up there can do something, and it's aided by the count in their favor. Well, the count in this favor for most of the pitchers this postseason, they're almost lulling them to sleep, waiting till it gets to that neutral 3-2 count.
On the ground to Cabrera, who throws him out. Another 1-2-3 inning as we are zipping along in the Bronx. huge starts here in game 2 by Sanchez and Kuroda.
Well, it's just been. You shake your head. I mean, these guys are delivering. Look, they're doing what they need to do to give their teams a chance to win. They just need a little help.
Johnny Peralta leads it off in the 6th. The Tigers have hit one ball out of the infield today. That came from Quentin Berry, who flied out to center in the 1st. 8 strikeouts for Kuroda. Up the middle, and there is the first base runner for the Tigers. And a huge hand here at Yankee Stadium.
Well, the defense on that base hit was swung way over to pull. You can't even see Jason Nix in the picture. That ball up the middle, an easy hit, but really playing him to pull. To share away off the line in the hole is Nix, and an easy base hit to center.
And to the right-handers, trying to throw a lot of sinkers in. That one didn't get in. It was out over the plate and was able to stay up the middle. You want to keep the right-handers from trying to get that short porch going the other way, especially Cabrera. Conscious effort of throwing the ball into right-handers.
First pitch out of the stretch.
Exactly. It'll come to Alex Avila. Avila struck out in the 3rd. Here in the top half of the 6th, the first base runner of the game for Detroit. And it's Johnny Peralta. Off the glove of Kuroda. And Nix will still throw out Avila, but Peralta advances to second.
Well, he had 15 double play balls going into this last 14 or so starts, and if he doesn't touch that ball, it's another double play. But the reaction of a pitcher is to always try to get it, with the exception of pop-ups, I guess.
And the equivalent of the Gold Glove Award in Japan, Kuroda won it, so he's always been a very good fielding pitcher, but that one glancing off the outside of his glove.
First time today the Tigers have a runner in scoring position, 1 out for Omar Infante. Tried to lay one down. Rodriguez was well back at 3rd.
I don't like that play. Infante's 4 for 11 off Kuroda. What you're really doing and saying of laying a bunt down is that you're just passing the baton. Let someone else do it. He should try to do it here in this situation with 1 out. Try to drive the runner in.
Kuroda with an 0-1. And that's tapped to Rodriguez at 3rd. 2 down as Peralta stays at 2nd. Who will become a legend this October? Cast your postseason vote at MLBFanCave.com. John, you been to the Fan Cave yet? You spend a lot of time in this neck of the woods. You been in there?
Yeah. Well.
No. Just tell the truth.
No, I haven't.
They'd love to have you over there.
Yeah, it's a neat place.
Yes, Boomer's been to the Fan Cave.
Boomer.
Yeah. They're still recovering. Here's Austin Jackson. The Tiger leadoff hitter struck out in the 1st, grounded out to short in the 4th. He's had 7 hits in the postseason, 3 doubles and a triple. Led the American League in triples and had one here last night.
Well, they have him more in a crouch than when he first came up. He's open instead of closed when he first came up, and it's really the adjustments that Jackson has made that has generated this fantastic year that he's had. A guy that almost had 200 hits his first year, The league made adjustments to him. He struggled with striking out a lot and has come back to the player that he's going to be, and that is an outstanding major league player at this level.
The 1-1. Missed, 2 balls and a strike. He hit 300 this year, career high. 16 homers and 66 runs batted in, both career highs.
You know, it's hard to ask a young player. He was brought up probably prematurely because they needed it to play center field and lead off for your team. Very difficult to ask both of those things from a young player, but now he's becoming one of those elite players.
He's taken the reins in center field from Curtis Granderson. Guys in a head-up trade.
Well, the Tigers in game 1, 6 for 15 with runners in scoring position. League best during the regular season. They've only had one opportunity, 0 for 1 today. Now with a 2-2 count and 2 outs. Trying to add to that league leading batting average.
The biggest pitch of the game comes here in the 6th.
And it comes with a runner at second. And a 2-2 count to Austin Jackson. And we are due a payoff pitch to the Tigers center fielder.
Show how he has greatly improved his game. He had 181 strikeouts last year, 134 this year. That's a reduction of a quarter of his strikeouts. That's a pretty good adjustment.
Grounded to short. Nix charges and throws him out by a step. The Tigers get their first hit, but Kuroda still has him shut out. No score through 5.5 in Game 2 of the American League Championship Series, and the Yankees at the top of the order in the bottom half of the 6th. Ichiro, who's 0 for 2. Two balls and no strikes from Anibal Sanchez, who has held the Yankees to 3 hits through 5.
Sorry, Ernie, leading off this inning. Wouldn't be surprised if you see Ichiro taking a pitch here. Getting on base any way he can.
Cabrera in on the grass at third. And Ichiro turns on that, pulls it foul. He homered here last night as the Yankees staged a 9th inning uprising, a 2-run shot. And then Ibanez hit another 2-run homer to tie it at 4. And that's tapped past Sanchez, and they will not get him.
That's what Ichiro was trying to do in his last at-bat when he tried to bunt it. This time it's just a ball off the end of the bat, and he makes the pitcher try to feel it. Sanchez gets off the mound great, but had a lot of spin on the ball, bounces off his leg and glove, and by the time Infante recovers, no chance with Ichiro.
That's the problem with spring training. It's hard to duplicate that in real time. You know, you have the fungo hitting a lot of different choppers, and you work on that play about 1,000 times. But with a guy that fast at real speed, it makes it difficult to see that ball not moving as slow as it is.
Sanchez charged with an error. And here's Cano. Tigers only made 1 error in the division series against Oakland. That's their 2nd. Here in Game 2. First of this game, 2nd of the series. Cano's 0 for 2. And that ball again pulled foul, 0-2.
One of the things you lose with Cano in the 2nd slot is that when you have a second place hitter, usually they take some pitches to allow your leadoff hitter maybe to steal some bases. Base runners are successful, 23 for 27, 85% up Sanchez this year, but all taken away by the over-aggressive Robinson Cano.
Cano 2 for 30 in the series. 0 for his last 24 are in the postseason, combined between the Orioles series and the first couple of games of this series against Detroit. Ichiro has his lead at first.
Well, one thing Ichiro does staying at first base, at least for this at bat, it gives Cano a bigger hole between first and second to shoot through. You see the first 2 pitches were in that he pulled. 1 and 2 count. I agree with you. At some point he will try to steal if he's still there and Cano cannot advance him.
He stole 14 bags with the Yankees, 29 combined between New York and Seattle this year.
When the game was played in the 70s on artificial turf, they used to have the cutouts at each base, and if you could get 1 foot on the carpet, you had a big lead. This is a 1 foot on the carpet lead by Ichiro.
A ball and 2 strikes to Cano. There goes Ichiro, and the pitch grounded back to the mound. A long underhanded toss by Sanchez got Cano, but Ichiro moves on to second.
Now, if you're Sanchez, you'll take that in a heartbeat. The base is going to be stolen, but he's got to protect the count, and he gets a weak grounder right back to Sanchez, and a rare long toss underhanded.
Never thought on a baseball field you could see a ball ladled over the first base.
Now with the runner at second, we watch this replay again. Runner at second, he has got a huge lead and will love to try to get to third base as well.
Here's Teixeira, who doubled in the first, rounded out in the third. Very few runners in scoring position in this game. Second time today for the Yankees. It's Ichiro who's at second with one out.
Daylight play there, you can see by the shortstop Peralta. Really just trying to keep Ichiro close. Fake by Sanchez. No harm, no foul, but you want to make sure you keep him close.
As you watch this replay, Cano, by the way, now his cold streak 0 for 25 in this postseason. Never happened before in Major League Baseball. The other way, Peralta on the backhand throws him out. Ichiro advances to third.
I'll tell you something, that wasn't an easy play for Peralta when you have Ichiro running right as the ball's hit. Where Peralta goes to backhand, the patience he had knowing the runner's not fast. Watch this right here, almost through the legs of Ichiro. He looks at him, thinks about it, and says, I'm going to take the sure out. If that would have been with no outs, he might have taken a chance to go and get the out at third, but with one out, now they're going to take the bat out of Ibanez's hands.
The guy who has provided such memorable moments in this postseason won't get a chance here in the sixth. 3 home runs, all in the 9th inning or later in this postseason.
I think you're right, John. If it had been no outs, I think Peralta might have taken a chance. He's shown how good of a defensive player he is, but a lot of things went right on that play for Detroit and for the Yankees. Watch the ball. Like you said, he shields it. Now, why did Ichiro go? Because he knew Peralta was holding him close, so anything to his right, he could still go. The other thing that Ichiro does, watch him. He bows as he goes to third, takes that angle away from Peralta to throw to third base, so he has to take the out at first.
So Ichiro at third. Ibanez, after the intentional walk, is at first. And with 2 down, here's Russell Martin, trying to break the scoreless tie here in the bottom half of the 6th. Strike 1 from Sanchez. Martin's grounded out twice. Sanchez has struck out 5, walked 2, one of those intentionally. It's the guy at first, Ibanez. The 0-1. No balls and 2 strikes.
This is just a great pitch. A sinker in, catches the bottom part of the strike zone. Catcher did not have to move. The umpire sees that as squared up right between the glove where he set up. Great pitch.
The 0-2. Upstairs, a ball and 2 strikes.
Sometimes you have redemption in the postseason. Martin trying to reverse a tough trend that he had in the regular season. 167 batting average with 2 outs and runners in scoring position. Everything's wiped clean, though, in the post.
A little tapper. Peralta, bare hand. What a play. And Sanchez, whose error got things started for the Yankees, celebrates. This game is still scoreless. What a play by Peralta. One cash rewards card. Man alive, what a game 2 here in New York. We're going to the 7th inning scoreless. That play by Peralta just spectacular. He has been so good in the first 2 games. Here's Quentin Berry to lead it off against Kuroda. Fouled away. 2, 3, 4 hitters due for the Tigers here in the 7th. Kuroda, who was perfect through 5, working here in the 7th, and Berry steps out.
So far, the formula for New York's working. You don't want traffic on the bases for Cabrera. He hasn't had any yet. They want to keep it that way.
That ball hit right on the screws, and Granderson back. He won't get there. That'll bounce over the center field wall for a ground rule double. Berry at second with nobody out here in the 7th.
Well, he missed the first curveball. Maybe not sure what was coming in the first pitch. Over the middle of the plate, he fouled it, but he didn't miss this backup slide. Well, it's supposed to be a backdoor slider, and it actually comes over the middle of the plate. Granderson likes to play shallow, but this ball was crushed to straightaway center.
Kuroda knows how important that double is to start off this inning in front of Detroit's equivalent of Murderer's Row.
Cabrera, fielder, Young. Cabrera 0 for 2. 1 for 6 in the series. And he grounds it foul, 0-1. Peak performance brought to you by Nissan, makers of the all-new Altima.
Well, Cabrera usually, as we see that 330 average right there, Cabrera doesn't have a great first round batting average, but the more he gets to play, second round career batting average coming into the series 360 with 6 home runs.
Berry with the lead at second. Triple Crown winner waits, and he falls behind. No balls and 2 strikes. Cabrera hitting .250 for the postseason coming into this game with just 1 RBI.
This is the first. Sorry, Ernie. This is the first time that I've seen a great hitter pitch just one way in the first 2 games. Everything in, all fastballs in, and you have a feeling, or I have a feeling, that at some point you're going to miss on one of those pitches inside.
The 0-2 from Kuroda. Outside, a ball and 2 strikes. You mentioned, John, last night too, a guy with big power numbers like this, and it was his walk in the 12th inning to lead things off that got everything started and made it all possible.
Absolutely. I mean, this is what this guy means to this club. I mean, he's had 40 home runs off of right-handers of his 44. Okay, so he stays in well. The reason these at-bats are so important, because if he can move them over or drive them in, but if he doesn't get it done and they get him out, they're more than likely walk fielder with a base open.
He knocked in 139 runs in the regular season. Foul tip. He's still alive.
Cabrera, usually in RBI situations, has no problem hitting the ball to the right side, but the Yankees are not allowing it. They are just throwing every pitch on the inside corner and running it in on the hands of Cabrera.
Cabrera ranking among the top in multiple offensive categories, including hitting with runners in scoring position. 356 was the 4th best mark in the American League. He's got Berry out there at second for him with nobody out here in the 7th.
You know, in the month of September, or September 1st on, when he was making the push for the Triple Crown, No one was much better than Cabrera. Batted .400 with runners in scoring position.
Sometimes you go out and talk to the catcher and you feel good about something, and then he gets back behind the plate and you're on the mound and you go, wait a minute. I don't know if let's talk one more time.
The 1-2. Slapped into right field. Swisher charging. Berry will be held up at third. They're at the corners with nobody out.
For those of you at home that may or may not know how to play ping pong, when you sit back and you just kind of use the paddle, that's what he does at the plate. Just sits back, flicks it. He's not in a hurry. He doesn't get his body out too out in front, and he's got a wide open spot to right field. That's the first pitch he's had to go that way, to your point.
That's why he's the best right-handed hitter in the game, because he's been rushed inside the entire series for these 2 games. He gets 1 pitch away, 1 in the first 2 games, and he gets a line drive to right field.
You see Gene Lamont put up the stop sign at third. So Berry's at third, Cabrera's at first. Nobody out in a scoreless game. Tigers trying to take a 2-0 advantage in this series. Here's Fielder. Nowhere near 1-0. Fielder struck out in the second and popped to third in the fifth.
We mentioned it last night against Andy Pettit. 22 of 29, 76%. Great rate by Fielder. The runner on third and less than 2 outs.
Some guys get anxious, try to do too much. Some guys get locked in. He's one of those guys that gets locked in.
A ball and a strike.
It's kind of a chill factor to the game of Fielder, although you see him gulping for a breath there. Big situation, he knows it, but usually he is pretty cool at the plate.
Berry with good speed at third. Fly ball of any depth will score him.
Andy Pettit just trying to get a strike. Fielder did not allow it. Fastball away, right back up the middle. A little more anxious in this bat against Kuroda now. He swung at 2 pitches out of the strike zone.
Pettit denied in game 1 and a chance for his 20th postseason victory. Here in game 2, scoreless in the 7th. And a big at bat, Prince Fielder facing Hiroki Kuroda. And that ball skips away, but Martin retrieves it. 2 balls and 2 strikes. They asked for help over there, and Gary Cederstrom said no, he did not go.
Clutch all season long has Prince Fielder been. And when you're a pitcher on the mound and you're a split finger pitcher, you've got to have extreme confidence in your catcher to be able to do that for you, John.
Yeah, and Martin does a great job. We talked about all the innings he's caught, no break at all. And he's done a great job blocking those pitches. That's how you got it. You got to attack a guy like Fielder down.
Again, down low in the dirt. Martin with the block and the count full. 3 balls and 2 strikes.
You know, the guy that throws that many split fingers and the movement he has on his pitches, he's had 13 wild pitches, most on the team. So classic. Get your chest in front of the ball, smother it. A split finger is going to go more down than it is right or left, like a slider or a curveball, where you have more uncertain bounces. You're going to know what that ball's going to do.
Berry at third. He led off with a ground rule double. Cabrera at first. A payoff pitch to Fielder. And he got him for the first out. Huge strikeout for Kuroda.
Well, the way he pitched Fielder is almost as if he didn't care if the bases were loaded. There's a high fastball, then everything's going to be down. Split finger. Down. Foul ball. Down. He's going to block this one and keep the runner from scoring. Again down. And when he got to 3-2, man, oh man, he stayed stubborn, and Fielder did not.
We talk a lot about pitchers throwing under stress in certain situations. Russell Martin's been living with that the last week. Extra inning games, never getting a break behind the plate. And he came up huge in that at bat against Fielder.
First pitch here, really important to a guy who's aggressive.
Delman Young didn't mean to. 0-1.
Such a huge pitch in an at-bat. It's a pitch that's going to be a ball. Foul tip gets Kuroda ahead in the count. 51% compared to Fielder's 76%.
Now the double play comes into play as big as ever. He does give up a lot of ground balls, not a lot of speed on the bases. Everybody playing back for that double play.
Young is 0 for 2 with a couple of strikeouts. Boy, Quentin Berry came charging down the third base line. And then Kuroda stepped off.
Oh, the veteran Kuroda, of course, cool as a cucumber. Watch Berry. Just trying to get the balk by the pitcher. No problem for Kuroda.
Made me balk up here. 0-1. No balls and 2 strikes.
When's the last time you saw a crowd stand up with 1 out?
It's what happens when your team is down 1-0 in a scoreless game in the 7th at home in game 2. Tigers lead from first and third. Young, who knocked in 3 runs in the opener, waiting on an 0-2. In the air, down the right field line. Will it stay in? Teixeira reaching and can't make the play.
I know Mark wanted to catch that ball, but it's probably a blessing in disguise because good speed at third. He would have had to come out of the stands, wheel, and throw to home. We look at the replay here. He probably could have caught that ball, as you see right there. That would have been trading an out when a guy's in a defenseless 0-2 count.
If he catches that, though, his momentum is going to bring him into the stands just enough that it would have been a real close play at third base.
One thing you'd like to see, Cabrera's getting no lead whatsoever at first. Not a secondary lead, not anything to get to second base if it's a slow chopper and mess up a double play. You'd like to see him get a bigger lead than he's getting and help out whatever ground ball if there is one.
Again, the 0-2. Grounded to Nix. There's one. Now they will call him out. Said he dropped it on the exchange, but the Tigers are on the board.
But that's what if he comes up with that cleanly, he's got a good chance to turn 2, and Cabrera should have been able to get there and make it more of a harder throw for Cano. New shortstop going to the second baseman. Everything's good there. The transfer, trying to make it quick. It just didn't happen.
Well, it's interesting. Usually we see Cano come across the bag with that sidearm flip. This time he used the bag as protection, and the ball just came out of his glove. He's played enough with Nix. No excuses for the exchange. Perfect throw by Jason.
But it's the little things in this game that you can take for granted. And the short lead, not even a good secondary lead. And I know Cabrera doesn't run fast, but any help you can give yourself by getting on top of this second baseman, Cano, makes it tougher because runs are obviously really important. You see the ball come out. as he tries to make a fast transfer.
Well, you can't do any better than Nix here. This is the play. Perfect throw. And no exchange by Cano.
Bottom line, Tigers 1, Yankees nothing. Runner at first with 2 down. Here's Andy Dirks. That's grounded to Nix, who makes the throw, but the scoreless tie broken in the 7th. A rally sparked by Quentin Berry's ground rule double. And the infield out scores the game's first run. Ernie Johnson back with you from Yankee Stadium with a couple of pitchers, Ron Darling and John Smoltz, who appreciate a well-pitched game. These two guys have been on, Sanchez and Kuroda today. Detroit, though, John, able to piece it together there in the 7th and break the scoreless tie.
Yeah, there's been no lack of drama. It's been unbelievable. Every game's been close, and the pitchers are doing their part. They need the other part of the game to help step them out and get some runs.
Well, I think what's really good, though, is that they started Garcia in right field yesterday, young player. They start Berry in left field today, young player. And he comes through with that double to start the inning and really had a strikeout, a fielder. You thought to yourself, that's going to kill the inning. It did not. They really got, put the ball in play with 2 strikes and it helped.
Tigers up 1-0. Lead the series 1-0. And now in the 7th inning, you start thinking about, what's Jim Leyland going to do here if it comes down to that situation? That's what he was up until 3 o'clock in the morning with his coaching staff trying to figure out.
Well, he's hoping to be in that situation other than a blowout. He's going to have to figure out how he matches up as the next couple innings play out. A lot of pressure on the Yankees hitters. More pressure, I think, on the Tigers bullpen. What just happened last night?
Let's go down to Craig Sager.
Well, we have some more information on Derek Jeter. He did go to Columbia Presbyterian today for that MRI and CAT scan. What they determined was that this is an unusual injury for baseball, more common in football. He left the hospital with a splint and crutches on his way to Charlotte, North Carolina to see Dr. Robert Anderson, perhaps the foremost ankle and foot surgeon. Now, Dr. Anderson was part of the NFL's ankle and foot subcommittee. He's also a consultant to the NFL. He's a team orthopedist for the Carolina Panthers, and he will determine if he can perform a surgical procedure that maybe will expedite the recovery rather than the original prognosis, which was rest and rehab for 3 months. DJ?
All right, thank you very much, Craig. We have a subcommittee for everything these days, don't we? The ankle and foot subcommittee. It's certainly it's one of those moments last night, guys, that transcends the series that you're doing there when one of the faces of Major League Baseball, Derek Jeter, goes down.
You know, Jim Leyland was talking about the postseason. When he thinks about the postseason, he thinks about Reggie Jackson. He thinks about the Atlanta Braves, 14 straight, and he said he thinks about Derek Jeter. And that was an interesting comment from the opposing manager.
Bottom half of the 7th inning. Alex Rodriguez leads it off. He's 0 for 2 with a couple more strikeouts. Now is 2 for 21 with 12 Ks in this postseason. Ball and a strike, and Alex Avila shaking that one off.
Or more of the older traditional mask with Avila, not that hockey mask.
Sanchez has 5 strikeouts. They've all come in the 6, 7, 8 spots in the New York order. That ball's hit to left, and Berry is right there for the first out. Let's go to Atlanta. Check in with Matt Weiner. Matty. All right, thank you, Matt. We'll be tuning in to listen to Joe Buck and Tim McCarver. Game 1 of the National League Championship Series later tonight. Here in the ALCS, Game 2. Curtis Granderson at the plate. 2 balls and no strikes with 1 out here in the bottom half of the 7th. Anderson fooled way out in front by the change.
Once again, you're seeing a very friendly hitters count 2-0 and not giving in to the hitters count. He throws a change up, and of course Granderson anticipating fastball, didn't get it.
Last Yankee hit came in the bottom half of the 4th. Leadoff single by Ibanez, who was caught stealing. And there is a walk to Granderson with 1 down. Al Albuquerque.
You know, it's the postseason when you haven't given up any runs and there's 2 people warming up.
Here's Nick Swisher. The Yankees' number 8 hitter is 1 out of 2 today. One of 3 hits that Sanchez has allowed. And he takes a strike. Thing about this ballpark, 1 swing away. It's a scary place. You listen to Jim Leyland talk before the game, too. And you never rest easy with a lead.
I think that's what's so perplexing for the Yankee fans. They spend all summer here standing up and watching guys run around the bases. Home run after home run. 245 in all during the regular season.
No No balls, 2 strikes. And Swisher stays alive.
Well, you can just sense the crowd wants to explode. They've only had a couple moments in the last 3 days of 1 inning. Really, you think about it, the 9th last night, the 9th against the Orioles, and then CC provided more of a situation that we're all got it into control and a 3-1 victory, but they're just waiting for somebody, something to cheer about. They'd like to have a lead before the 9th.
This is their 5th home game in a row because of the format this year. They've scored 20 runs. 10 of them have come in the 9th inning. Sorry, 9th inning or later, of course, because of all the extra games.
Yeah, a couple of 12 inning and a 13 inning game mixed in there. And the Yankees have lost 2 of those. Avila lost control for a second and then trying to make sure that Granderson wouldn't take off as he tried to locate it.
As you look at this stadium, though, we've had those 5 in a row despite the short fences. It really is an unbelievable fun stadium to be in and look at, and the aesthetics of it. They really did a great job. Might not have painted the right numbers on the walls correctly, but certainly a lot of excitement take place in this field.
There goes Granderson. Strike 3 to Swisher, and Granderson has second stolen. So Swisher strikes out for the second out, but Granderson in scoring position. Yankees avoided the strike him out, throw him out.
Well, he takes off on a changeup. Nothing really Avila can do. Obviously, you're trying to make sure you make a great pitch to get the hitter out, which he did, but that allowed Granderson to have a huge jump. Something I thought, when I think of Granderson, I think of 20 and 30 stolen bases. I don't typically always think about 43 home runs, but only had 10 or so on the regular season.
He's become more of a home run hitter than a base stealer. Interesting, Joe Girardi choosing to stay with Jason Nix. He loved his at-bats in the Baltimore series. Remember, his first time up today, just missed hitting a home run to left field.
It was a ball that Quentin Berry went back on and caught on the warning track. He bats now with 2 down. And a runner at second, Curtis Granderson, in a 1-0 game. Detroit on top.
Detroit starters have really stepped it up this postseason. Now under 1 ERA, 0.95. Incredible staff ERA.
And they've got Verlander set for game 3. Trying to take a 2-0 lead into that game at Comerica. Here comes the 1-0. 2 balls and no strikes. Ichiro on deck and the top of the New York order.
Let's see if the Sanchez stays with the game plan of the Tiger pitchers. 2-0 fastball count to Nix. Does he counter with one of his secondary pitches?
Mentioned in the open, one of the keys for Sanchez was get it to the 8th. 7th inning, he's had some issues in the 7th inning of his 32 starts, high ERA. For whatever reason, the 7th inning has given him problems, but he's a couple pitches away from doing exactly that, getting it to the 8th for the Tigers.
Sanchez has been a picture of calm all day long here. In a big spot in the bottom half of the 7th. 2 balls and 2 strikes.
You can tell which pitch he's got the best feel for. When he's needed to make a pitch, it's been that changeup. Really good arm action. Comes out looking like a fastball. Made some big pitches, got some strikeouts. 2-2 count here. A couple ways he can go. And we just showed you could go a couple ways too. He could throw about 100 miles an hour in the 7th inning.
Well, you lost your captain last night. You lost your leadoff hitter. You lost your shortstop. You're asking this young man, Jason Nix, to have the best 2 weeks of his life. To pick up the slack.
And he bats here in a 1-0 game with 2 out. And the tying run at second. We'll do it again with a 2-2 count.
More than likely, either case, this probably is his last hitter. They got Phil Cope in the bullpen. He could either start out the next inning if he gets this hitter or come in and face Ichiro. Cano's right behind him. So you kind of know these things as a pitcher, and so you're back to just, I need to make a pitch. I got to get this pitch in the right direction.
And time called by home plate umpire Rob Drake.
The later the game goes, the more effort you've got to put on location, meaning you're going to be tired. Your arm is going to be a little bit less than it was to start off. You can get away with pitches over the middle of the plate. Late, you cannot.
Two down low. 3 balls and 2 strikes.
I'll tell you what, I'm not so sure if he doesn't catch that ball, that might not look like a strike to the umpire. And the way it came off his glove gave the umpire no chance but to call it a ball.
Sanchez thought that ball was a strike.
Pitch tracks thought it was a strike, but the catcher didn't do him any service.
Little things in postseason games. A good pitch, maybe strike 3. Catcher can't handle it, doesn't allow the umpire to call it.
Looks like the batter's bat there hit his catcher's glove.
Took something off, struck him out. Sanchez has been brilliant. State Farm. Game 2 of the American League Championship Series, and the only run of the game scored by Quentin Berry on the infield out. They got the force at second. Cano could not make the turn, and Anibal Sanchez has been unbelievable today. He and Kuroda, great starting pitching. Kuroda, who pitched into the ninth in his start against the Orioles, was the game Ibanez tied and then won in extra innings, working in the 8th here. And Peralta takes inside 1-1.
Yeah, he won't have to ask much questions about 3 days rest. He's put that to rest.
It's the third time Peralta's led off an inning.
He singled in the 6th. And he waits on a 2-1. Not even 2 balls and 2 strikes. He's 1 out of 2. And now 4 for 7 in the series. And 9 for 24 in the postseason. Boone Logan, Jabba Chamberlain getting loose in the New York bullpen.
I'll tell you how dominant Kuroda's been. Strikeouts or balls on the ground. Only 2 balls in the air for outs.
Kuroda with a 3-2. And he pulls the string on Peralta for the first out.
Pitchers are fearless so far early on and not being able to give in on 3 and 2 and make quality pitches. This is a great slider. Starts out as a fastball. And again, remember, the hitter's thinking the ball's coming into him because he planted the seed in with a lot of sinkers. Even though that pitch is not breaking a big amount, it seems that way to the hitter.
10 strikeouts for Kuroda as he works here in the 8th. And here's Alex Avila, who struck out in the 3rd and grounded out in the 6th.
Purpose with every pitch. Fastball away for a strike. Fastball underneath the armpits to get him off the plate. But Avila has tremendous power to left and left center field.
Tapped foul into the on-deck circle to Omar Infante.
Well, there have been millions of innings pitched way before us and by pitchers who pitched on 3 days rest, and I would argue you're going to be sharper on 3 days rest. The theories today exist quite opposite. He has been sharp. He's used his whole body. He's repeated his mechanics. It has looked effortless, and he's made the Tigers work for that single run they've got, and they were a double play away from getting out of that.
Strike 3 called. Back-to-back strikeouts here in the 8th.
There's the first swing back, whatever you want to call it, front door fastball. The movement on that to a hitter looks like it might hit him, and then right down the middle of the plate.
With 2 down, here's Omar Infante. And he lines that one right up the middle for a 2-out hit. Brings the leadoff hitter Austin Jackson to the plate here in the 8th. Team Stream, it's the way baseball fans stay in the know. Head over to the App Store or Google Play and download Team Stream right now. What an outing for Hiroki Kuroda.
I think he's just getting a heartbeat of him right there and saying,
"Are you good?"
He gave him the nod, so.
Tight. He's good.
11 strikeouts, a career high. And he stays in there to face Austin Jackson. Right at the century mark in pitches here in game 2. Tigers didn't have a base runner till the 6th. They scored their run in the 7th. Trying to add to it here in the 8th. But they'll need to do it with 2 out. Jackson's 0 for 3. And takes a strike.
With most of the hitters in the Tigers lineup, either a strikeout or pounding that ball into the dirt.
Jackson went 2 for 6 in the opener. He's knocked in 3 runs in the postseason. And he bats with Infante at first, and there's another throw over by Kuroda.
You know their leadoff hitters at the plate. If you take a chance on the bases, you got your leadoff hitter batting in the next inning. Pitcher's just trying to keep him close.
Jackson takes. Ball and a strike.
It's the first 2 pitches we've seen in a row from Kuroda, though, up in the strike zone. High slider, high fastball. Fonte's decent speed, not great speed.
Kuroda last time held for a lot longer than he normally did.
Into right field. Base hit. Infante rounds second. And now he's got to get back. And just did. Swisher threw behind. And Cano says they got him. But Jeff Nelson says otherwise.
Well, the ball definitely beat him. It's whether Cano, who went to the outside outfield part of the bag with a tag, if Infante put his right hand on the inside part of the bag towards the infield. Good throw by Swisher. Where's the tag go? Oh, he's out. He gets the ball right underneath his sternum and stomach before he gets his right hand on the bag. Not even close.
Clearly out at second. But Infante is there with 2 out. And Jackson at first. That's going to be all for Kuroda. Boone Logan coming out of the Yankee pen. Kuroda, Motorola, he said. Boone Logan on in relief for New York.
Boone Logan is called on a lot for these scenarios. The other lefty will primarily pitch to just lefties. Boone can pitch to righties and lefties. Power fastball, sweeping slider. Big guy on the mound. Does not see it very well as a left-hander.
Well, with 2 out here in the 8th, clearly the Tigers catching a break when Swisher threw behind Infante. And there's the tag.
Well, other than tackling him, there's nothing else Cano could have done to present Jeff Nelson with the call. Interesting matchup here. Garcia is going to bat for Quentin Berry. Quentin Berry led off the inning in the 7th and scored the only run in this ball game. A young outfielder. Now another young outfielder here to try to push the score ahead. Had a base hit off Logan in yesterday's game on an 0-2 count.
And it also came in the 8th inning. Avisail Garcia possesses a great outfield arm. He's a dead ringer for Miguel Cabrera. And he's batting in a big spot. Game 2 of the ALCS. Tigers trying to pad the lead. Logan to the plate. Called strike 1. Here it was last night. Logan. That was on an 0-2 pitch.
Trying to get it in. Got it over the middle of the plate. Trying to get it in right there and got it over the middle plate. Got the call. Catcher sets in and has to reach over the strike zone. Sometimes you don't get that call.
Little flare to right field. That's going to fall. Infante around third. He will score. And the kid delivers again.
And Joe's going to go out and make another pitching change, but I don't know if he's going to be able to stay quiet as he gets out there and not voice his frustration.
Well, after a blown call, you just know these kind of things happen in the game. Can't explain them. Not a great swing by Garcia. Gets jammed, but dumps it into right field.
He was the Tiger franchise minor league player of the year. He's only 21 years old. Avisail Garcia, an RBI here in the 8th. It's 2-0.
Infante with a big round around second. The tag by Cano, not even close. Nelson misses the call, and the buildup of the time that Joe was on the bench until he had to come take Logan out of the game. Boone Logan, just too much for him to bear, and thrown out of the ball game.
Yeah, you could almost see it coming as he walked out to the mound. He was going to make the pitching change, and then that lull period while there's a commercial for most people. He started having a conversation. Once you start to have a conversation, you knew what was going to happen, and the umpire had enough of the conversation and threw him out of the game.
And you saw Boone Logan in the Yankee dugout throw the ball down in frustration. Could not get the out as Garcia singled to make it a 2-0 game. And here's Jabba Chamberlain now. And the last time we saw Jabba, he was getting hit in the elbow by the broken bat.
Well, pretty good numbers in the regular season. You can see so far in the postseason, but facing a hitter that's been very difficult for him. 5 for 11 is Cabrera with a long ball.
First and third. Cabrera goes to right. Swisher near the line, leaping, and cannot make that play. Ball is in foul territory. 0-1.
Well, tough play for Swish there. You got to go a long way because he's playing Cabrera to right center, and by the time you get over there, there's not a lot of foul territory, and then there's cement on top that he'll hit his right elbow on and wrist as he tries to catch that fly ball. Fans get out of the way, gave him an opportunity, but couldn't come up with it.
Look at that hole between first and second. Cabrera shot one through the right side earlier. It really can go all over.
He's 1 out of 3 on the day. We mentioned the Chamberlain situation. The broken bat sawed off Matt Wieters and caught him flush on the elbow. Tried to continue, came out. This is his first appearance since that happened.
I know it sounds a little crazy what I'm about to say next, and you're used to this, Ernie, but you want to stay there if you're the runner and let Cabrera hit. Even if a ball gets away, let him hit. He's your RBI guy. Because what that does is if he goes to second, more likely you got an option to pitch him differently and create an open base.
You're right about that. And staying there, as you see this check swing, did he go? Sam Holbrook, the first base umpire, with the correct call. You also keep that space that you talked about between first and second open for Cabrera.
This inning began with back-to-back strikeouts, and then a lot has happened since then. Tigers padding their lead as Cabrera goes the other way. And it's 3-0 Detroit. Talked about him using the whole field. Second hit to the opposite field today. And this one scores a run.
I mean, he's just so dangerous. He sits there at the plate and doesn't do anything other than wherever it's pitched, he hits it. And he can hit it with power. This is just great hitting on a pitch that's a slider away, maybe not as away as he would like it to be. And now, you know, if you think about the other side, Jim Leyland thinks a little better about the situation, having 3-run cushion now trying to close this out.
Wonder how comfortable Jim Leyland will feel. Remember, it was 4-0 going to the ninth. It's 3-0 now, Detroit. Game 4 and Game 5 if they need it. We'll be in Detroit. Game 6 and 7 scheduled here for Yankee Stadium in this best of 7, which the Tigers lead 1-0, and they lead 3-0 here in Game 2 late. And they'll be talking about this 8th inning if this result holds up. Boy, will they be talking about this inning.
Rapata faced Fielder yesterday, threw him some nasty pitches down under. See if Prince can make him get the ball up. He sweeps a slider. He's got an unorthodox. You don't see this too often from a left-hander. "70 games, but only 38 1/3 innings." Tells you what his role is.
Specialization to the max.
Oh, 1 to Fielder, sails outside, count even. Peralta struck out. Avila was called out on strikes. Then Infante single, Jackson single. Infante, they threw behind him. Swisher to Cano. Clearly had him, but the call did not go the Yankees' way. They called him safe. And the Tigers have taken advantage. Avisail Garcia pinch hit, knocked in a run. And then the baseball king in RBIs, Miguel Cabrera, delivered an RBI single. 3-0 Detroit in search of a 2-0 lead in this series. 1-2 is fouled back.
That's the first one he got up. Everything's been down towards the ankle. And again, you're looking at an arm angle that's coming at you and sweeping. Prince has been trying to go out there and follow the ball, but he just can't catch up because it's been down. That one he had a chance.
Well, the final line of Kuroda. When you look in the paper tomorrow, are you going to be able to believe that he gave up 3 earned runs in that performance?
No chance.
Right?
He was perfect through 5. Tigers didn't score till the 7th. And they've tacked on here in the 8th. Again, the 1-2. Count even.
Unfortunately, there'll be a lot of people here bringing up the old discussion of whether or not baseball needs instant replay. Something that has been on the brink of every other sport, and we've gone to replay via the home run. Don't know if we'll ever get it to the other capacities have.
Fielder stays alive. Go ahead.
With the technology we have today, if you just had an eye in the sky, an extra umpire sitting up here where we're sitting, John, or next to us, and seeing the same picture we saw, it would be very easy to reverse that call. Take 2 seconds.
In fairness to the umpire, everything's happened in live speed. They don't get the versions and the views that we get. And unfortunately, in a play like that, that to a casual fan sees the umpire looking straight at it, has a hard time understanding how he could miss that call. A bang bang play at first and all that, you can understand. This is a play where he gets in good position and he's trying to get over there, and the only thing you can see maybe that he didn't see the glove because he was getting there late.
That Cano's body was on the outside of Infante, but from this angle here,
because we're seeing it from low camera, probably first base angle, he still hasn't gotten there to see maybe that glove.
Fielder works him for a walk, and they're loaded.
They're going to use 4 pitches to try to get an out here in the 8th.
One side armor to the next. Epley.
Epley added to the roster for the American League Championship Series. Was not on the ALDS roster. And he'll make his way to the mound here in the 8th. Time. Very much like John Smoltz in that regard. Don't miss Conan. All new tomorrow at 11, 10 Central, only on TBS. Very funny. Well, the Detroit Tigers with a 3-0 lead and the bases loaded with 2 out. And all of this has happened after 2 were out. As Cody Epley comes on to try to keep it right there.
And there's so many instances where you can pick up a player or a teammate, and in this case, not make a call stand out. They just had to get one out.
Yeah.
All they had to do is get one out, and they have not been able to, and that has added to the frustration of what's been an unbelievable 1-0 game. Let's face it, the Yankees don't score, there's nothing they can say. But if they happen to score 1 or 2 runs, it's going to be more of a glaring issue.
3 straight hits to right field by right-handed hitters and a walk. Tigers, it's hard to believe, during the regular season only hit .217 with the bases loaded. You think they would do much more damage than that.
Epley comes on here to face Delman Young, who knocked in 3 runs in the opener. Got the bases loaded. And he lays off the first pitch, 0-1.
Well, if you were watching Rapata in a mirror, this is what you would see. They both take the ball out of the glove the same way. Both have the same angle. And like I said, a rare combination of a right-lefty sidearm specialist.
8th Tiger to bat in the inning, and Young behind 0-2. Epley comes on, strikes out Delman Young. But what an inning here in the 8th. Austin Jackson with the hit. Blown call at second. The 21-year-old with an RBI. Ejection for Girardi. 3-0 game, Tigers. The Yankees bring the top of the order to the plate in the bottom half of the 8th inning in a 3-0 game. Abisail Garcia, the 21-year-old who came up with the big RBI after the controversial call, now in right field, and Andy Dirks moves from right to left. And the left-hander Phil Koch comes on in relief of Anibal Sanchez, who was brilliant.
Based on the way the Yankees have been hitting, this is your best chance right now to get back in the game. The top of the lineup did it in the 9th. They're going to have to do it in the 8th to have any chance to create a big rally.
Ichiro takes a ball outside.
And this is where the huge spot of coming out of the pen, you have one focus. You don't even think about the second and third hitter. You're trying to get this first guy out, keep the roar at a minimum. Don't allow any chance of a rally. Throw strikes, get him out.
Koch came in last night and threw nothing but strikes. 1-1.
Koch went through Cano, Teixeira, and Raul Ibanez in last night's game.
Just outside, 2-1.
Yeah, I think with Ichiro lefty on lefty, I mean, it's hard to strike this guy out, but it's even harder to get quick results. You got to attack this guy in the zone and let him drag it or slap it or do what he has to do, hopefully at one of your infielders.
Ichiro waiting. Lazy fly ball to center field. Austin Jackson calls and squeezes for the first out here in the 8th. And now Robbie Cano steps in, and 0 for 3 today. 2 for 31 in the postseason, and hitless in his last 25 at bats in this postseason. Longest hitless streak in Major League Baseball history for one postseason. Can't believe you're saying that about Robinson Cano either. Guy who was on a tear coming into the postseason.
It's just it's unfathomable. I mean, if this were a stretch during the regular season, he'd still be hitting about 370 if you think how hot he was in that stretch. And then, of course, this last pitch, he's not real happy with. And that's some of the things you think he's got a real good idea of the strike zone.
Of course.
And something like that can expand a strike zone that doesn't need to expand as a hitter. Why not? That's exactly where you got to go.
There's no way anybody expects a guy who's hitting .615 over a 9-game stretch to keep that kind of torrid stuff up, but you don't expect to see a total fall off the edge of the earth.
All right, I'll walk back to the hotel if they try to go in right here.
Oh, one of those calls.
Do you promise? Here comes the 0-2. Grounded to first. And Fielder takes it himself. 2 up and 2 down here in the 8th.
I tell you, when we talk about their resolve and their ability to come back, and the Yankees certainly have done that. I know it's not easy, but their patience as well of not getting so upset over situations where your manager gets thrown out. It could have been easy. Your second baseman gets thrown out, and you start feeling like things are going against you because your frustration's boiling.
Koch delivers a strike to Teixeira with 2 down here in the 8th.
I know that's what the general fan wants to see sometimes, when you get out, break the bat over your knee, throw your helmet, show some emotion. But these guys have been in so many games, it just doesn't work that way.
Jim Leyland said before the game that he was going to take his closer, Jose Valverde, keep him as his closer, but not close with him today, because it looked like he was waiting for bad things to happen. But when you look at the offense of the New York Yankees, it looked like they're waiting for someone to get it going. And it is not happening.
Teixeira had a double in the first. In fact, the Yankees had runners at first and second in the first, but nothing came of it. They had runners at first and third in the sixth and did not score. Coke tried to paint and missed. 2 balls and 2 strikes. The Detroit Tigers of Jim Leyland in game 1 took a 4-0 lead to the 9th. They lead 3-0 here with 2 outs in the 8th. And Coke to Teixeira. Stays alive. 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Again, we reiterate the tough job it is to do well at this time of the year. Even doubly tough to manage your ball club in situations where it's Joe Girardi dealing with a superstar A-Rod, deciding to pinch hit, deciding to not play him. Jim Leyland, for a guy who's closed so many games, and just give him a temporary break, trying to find his way back into the series if he can.
Here comes another 2-2. Popped him up over there by the Yankee dugout. Avila makes the catch. A 1-2-3-8. The Tigers are 3 outs away from taking a 2-0 lead over the Yankees. This American League Championship Series coverage on TBS is presented by the Capital One Cash Rewards Card. About 10 minutes after 7 on a Sunday evening in New York. Game 2 of the American League Championship Series, and the Detroit Tigers trying to take a 2-0 series lead.
At this point, the Yankees have used so many pitchers, they're going to ask Epley to try to get through this inning. Hope that their magic continues in the bottom of the 9th.
Andy Dirks leads it off. He is 0 for 3. Tigers with 1 in the 7th. 2 more in the 8th. Aided by a bad call at second, which would have been the 3rd out of the inning with no runs scoring. Lays it down. Epley. Got him by a half a step. 1 down. It's gone on to Craig Sager.
Well, AJ, you mentioned that call in the 8th inning. Now, instant replay has long been debated in Major League Baseball, but C-League all season long has kind of downplayed it. But Thursday, in an interview with Bill Shaken of the LA Times, here's what he said. They asked him about expanded replay. He said, we should have it by next year. It would include fair or foul and also trapped balls. Right now, I want to make sure that every stadium has the same equipment and the same technology. Should we have it by spring training? We had better have it. Now, one of the things that was implemented during the collective bargaining agreement recently, however, must be approved by Major League Baseball and the umpires union before it actually does become a factor. But can imagine if the umpires had that same angle we had, perhaps they would welcome it.
All right, thank you very much, Craig. Johnny Peralta at the plate, and he takes. John?
Well, one thing I'd like, and I'd always advocate that, especially we're a game that's determined by runs. Anything that results in a run should be reviewable. That's what they do with a home run. A play at first, safe or out, is not reviewable unless it reverts to a run.
Rounded into left field by Peralta for a 1-out single. However, John, the play like that, the play at second did not involve a run scoring, but you still got to review that.
Yeah, and I think eventually when we see how it works crawling before we walk, then you can get to that. But I think to make every play reviewable that's questionable would just take baseball to a new historic length. And I say this, the arguments after the fact are longer than what it would take to get it right.
Sure.
And so I think with technology and other sports, they've pretty much perfected it.
And the other stumbling block, guys, and you guys know this, that if it involves a call in which runners have moved, was that ball trapped, and then you got to figure out where the runners go, and they're really not in a hurry to try to get into that. You talk about delays and trying to figure out where a guy's going to be, where do you place the runners.
But if you'd gotten the call right, the inning lasted 20 minutes longer. If you'd gotten the call right, you wouldn't have had to go past the inning. Kuroda would have been out of the inning, who got 23 outs. It took you 4 pitchers to get 1 out, and Kuroda gave up all the runs.
Would have still been a 1-0 game. Joe Girardi would have still been around.
That's right.
We don't need the managers to throw flags on the field like the NFL, but we have so many opportunities and so many views that the umpires do not have. It could be the eye in the sky, like you said, and it would be a lot quicker, and I think it would make the game better. These umpires are under a lot of stress under the moment to make calls at fast speed, and it's not possible to get them all right.
Avila grounds it to first to Shera. Takes it himself for the 2nd out. Peralta moves to second.
Once they introduced QuesTech, it changed everybody's own strike zone into like this computerized strike zone, of which I thought was unfair for the umpires. You knew back in the day when a certain umpire was behind the plate, you knew a strike zone. The hitter knew it, the pitcher knew it, and nobody had an issue with it. And now it's revolved to more of a condensed strike zone.
Here's Infante with the runner at second and 2 out. So we began our day here at the ballpark meeting with each manager. Talked to Jim Leland, who said Jose Valverde is still my closer, but he will not close today. He's going to go by feel, by matchups. See Joaquin Benoit up in the pen.
Yeah, he also said they noticed something that they're going to be working on with his mechanics that could help him later down the road.
Kind of the same thing that Doug Fister talked about when we talked about it earlier. Said that he needed to speed up his motion a little. Well, I think they really need to do that with Valverde also.
You just can't take a guy out of a playoff roster and not use him anymore. You'll be pitching short. So they got to find him to get right, and then he'll help him down the stretch.
He said that Valverde, Jim Leland said, is not a piece of meat, that he is a human being, and we have respect for our players. He saved 110 out of 118 chances. In a not-so-patient world, let's be a little patient.
49 for 49 last year. The 2-1. Down even 2 balls and 2 strikes with 2 outs here in the top half of the 9th.
I just did quick math. That's 100%. 49 for 49. Pretty much perfect.
You got an acute sense of the obvious. You're outstanding.
Infante goes down swinging to end the 9th. Detroit 3 outs away from a 2-0 series lead. Joaquin Benoit will pitch the 9th. We go to the bottom half of the 9th. Jump the gun. We showed you Joaquin Benoit getting loose, but Phil Koch will start the 9th. The lefty-lefty matchup with Raul Ibanez.
Well, you got to try something different against Ibanez, but it doesn't matter if it's lefty or righty lately.
Remember, 4-0 last night going to the 9th when Ichiro connected for a 2-run homer. And then after a huge walk to Mark Teixeira, Valverde gives this one up to Ibanez. The game was tied at 4. Tigers, to their credit, after that deflating moment, rallied in the 12th to win Game 1. Here they'll try to hold on to a 3-0 lead in the bottom of the 9th with Ibanez leading off.
can certainly understand the anxiousness by not only the fans, people around. I mean, starters have thrown 48 innings, only given up 5 runs. Valverde, 2 1/3, 7 runs.
Oh, 2 to Ibanez, who's been on every time tonight. Walked in the first, base hit in the fourth, and he was caught stealing, and was intentionally walked in the 6th.
It won't be totally forgotten, but it sure would be a nice feeling going home 2-0 if they were able to get out of this 9th unscathed.
And Ibanez just did get a piece of that to stay alive. 0-2.
You know, people don't understand in the game. You think anybody can go in and close and get 3 outs in a ninth. It isn't that easy. There's been a lot of setup guys that were maybe in line to be closers. Once they got the job, they didn't do it very well. It's a certain mindset. It's an ability to forget what you did the previous outing and go out there and really bear down and get 3 outs before your team, that team, ties it up.
And there is out number 1 in the 9th as Koch strikes out Ibanez.
Wow, he's going to stay with him. Telling Cabrera, make sure he looks out for the bunt from Russell Martin. His fastball up and in.
What I like about that, see how he dropped the glove back down? He wanted it up, but he didn't keep it up there like some guys do, or stand up, which really, it's not really comfortable for a lot of pitchers to try and throw. You never train yourself to do that. So he flashed it, brought it down, and he threw it up there for strike 3.
Here's Russell Martin. Phil Koch, the former Yankee, trying to close things down here in the 9th.
I've seen this done before by managers, and this is the old, you're going to pitch until you give up a hit. Then we're going to go to someone else.
Koch working with a 3-0 lead. And he's ahead 0-2 on Russell Martin, who's 0 for 3. The Yankees with only 3 hits here in game 2. Anibal Sanchez absolutely dialed in his game 2 start. Turned it over to Koch, who was delivered in the 8th and here in the 9th. Here comes the 0-2. And the Tigers an out away from a 2-0 series lead.
You knew it. He was going to be up with a situation.
Well, in the open, I said that with the captain out with a fractured ankle, you can see the graphic of how the hitters are hitting, that Robinson Cano had to take it up a notch. He's really taking it down a notch now. 0 for 24 here at Yankee Stadium in the postseason.
Rodriguez facing Koch with nobody on, 2 down. No balls and a strike. He's 0 for 3 today. Struck out looking, struck out swinging. Lined out to left his last time. They're a strike away. To second and into right center for a base hit. Rodriguez aboard with 2 down.
Well, 8 up and 8 down for Phil Koch until that
at bat by Alex Rodriguez. 0-2 pitch, inside, fights it off, and burns it up the middle.
Trying to get it in, didn't get it in.
Here's Curtis Granderson. Still a 3-0 game, but the Yankees with a runner at first. Both caught the corner, 0-1.
Consistently getting that pitch just off the corner on our pitch tracks, but he has been, Rob Drake has been consistent.
Checked his swing. They asked for help. And Gary Cedarstrom says he didn't go. 1-1.
Hey, he's hearing it from the Tiger dugout from a couple guys thinking that that angle they had saw it differently. But
that was a good call by Cedarstrom.
They're joking a little bit.
Rodriguez leading from first. Granderson waiting. Rodriguez on the run. They let him take second. And it's a ball and 2 strikes to Granderson.
It's interesting. You got a strike from your pitcher, but Avila did not like that curveball on the inside part of the plate.
Got to try to go back outside and catch that corner fastball away, possibly, or bounce the slider away, curveball. Number 1 is over in the pitch tracks.
And Granderson goes down swinging, and the Detroit Tigers have come to Yankee Stadium and taken the first 2. Today, a 3-0 shutout. And they go to Detroit for the next 3. And here in New York, the fans wonder if they've seen the last of the home team for 2012.
Great pitchers duel between Anibal Sanchez and Hiroki Kuroda. Sanchez got the better of it, and on the day they decided to shut their closer down, Phil Koch comes in and gets the necessary outs.
A big boost for Phil Koch and the Tigers, of course. Now they'll have a day off, reset everything, turn it over to their ace, Justin Verlander. He'll probably have the mindset, take the day off, boys. Don't need a bullpen. But the crowd in Detroit will be super happy to see him come home.
And let us check in with Craig Sager. Segs.
Well, Maggie, a big pitching duel, something like this where runs are hard to come by. You're a big home run hitter, led the league, got the Triple Crown, but yet 2 singles. How do you adjust your game just to get on base and get something going?
They pitch me toss right now. They pitch me to in Oakland. They pitch me to here too. But I take my hit. I take the walks because a little thing here in baseball is big right now. So we got to take the hit.
Your pitcher, Anibal Sanchez, was terrific today. Why was he so good?
Oh, he was aggressive, throw a lot of strike, work both sides of the play. He got it. He got off balance. They great hit the guy in that line. He keep us in the game.
You had a big hit in that controversial 8th inning when you guys scored 2 runs. What was your take on that play at second base?
I don't know. I don't see it, I was focused to get a hit to right field. I don't see a play in cycles. I don't have opinion about that, but we got 2 big runs right there. We got this one. Big game for us.
Huge game, going up 2-0 after taking 2 games in New York. You've now been with the Tigers 18 postseason games. You have reached base safely in all 18. You now go back to Detroit with Justin Verlander. How confident are you?
Oh, we don't have to feel a lot of coffee. We go out there and play the same baseball we play here. We got to go out there and play hard 100%. Verlander is going to keep us in the game. Hopefully we can score a lot of run support for Verlander. we win home.
Congratulations. We'll see you in Detroit.
Thank you very much.
Back to you, EJ.
All right, Sex, the Detroit Tigers could not script it better than this. Taking the first two at Yankee Stadium and then giving the ball to Justin Verlander in Game 3.
Well, you see those numbers in red. Maybe it's what the Yankees need. Who knows? I mean, you sit there and you're struggling and you're going against one of the best in the game. You get a little more locked in, but certainly on paper, Justin Verlander's in another planet.
And it's up to Phil Hughes, of course, to make sure he's done what he did the second half of the season, as he was probably one of the hottest pitchers for the Yankees.
Our final score today, Tigers 3, Yankees nothing. Be sure to tune in Tuesday on TBS for Game 3 of this series. Coverage begins at 7:30 Eastern with MLB On Deck presented by Dodge Dart. For Ron Darling, John Smoltz, Craig Sager, and the rest of our crew, this is Ernie Johnson saying goodnight from New York. TBS is your exclusive home for the American League Championship Series. Now stay tuned for Inside MLB presented by Captain Morgan. Remember to drink responsibly.